Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello dear students, welcome to another lecture. So in the last part of the video, we had started with chapter 9, which is a play titled Riders to the Sea. Now I had briefed you about the characters, Moria the mother, her two living daughters Kathleen and Nora, and their brother and Moria's son Bartley. We had read that Moria was obviously sad and she was depressed and she was heartbroken because she had lost her son Michael to the sea, and she was still waiting for his body to be washed away on the shore because that was missing. So as the chapter began, as the scene opened, we saw that Kathleen was first kneading a cake and then she sat at the spinning wheel when Nora entered with a bundle that she hid beneath her shawl. So she took out that bundle and she told Kathleen that the young priest had given this shirt and a stocking to her because according to the priest they belonged to Michael. These clothes belonged to a man who was drowned and whose body was washed away on the Donegal. Now initially Kathleen was not ready to accept that how could Michael just wash away till the north. But then Nora told her that the priest had said that that was very much possible and it was not the first time when something like this had happened. So they had to find out, looking at the clothes, whether they belonged to Michael or not. If they did belong to Michael, they had to convey to their mother that their brother had, and her son had got a clean burial, that he was now in safe hands. And if the clothes did not belong to Michael, then obviously they are not going to mention about it. Kathleen further asked whether Bartley was going to go to the Galway fair with his horses, because for that also he'd have to cross the sea. So Nora said that the priest accepted, and the priest actually said yes to the fact that Bartley was going to go. But on the other hand, the priest had also consoled by saying that there is nothing to worry about because God is not going to leave Moria with no living son, and that Bartley will be taken care of very well. Now as they were talking about it, they were confused whether they should open the bundle and look at its contents because they did not want their mother to wake up on them. So they realized that the mother was about to wake up and enter the room any minute. So Kathleen hid that bundle in the loft. And they thought that later on, when the mother has gone out and she's, going to start searching for Michael again, then they will have time to go through the bundle. So let us continue now. So Moria enters, looking up at Kathleen and speaking querulously. Isn't it turf enough you have for this day and evening? So Moria saw that Kathleen was standing by the turf lot where they would keep the turf. So she asked querulously, as if when somebody is actually blabbering, somebody is speaking a lot continuously. So Moria started complaining. She looked up at Kathleen and asked her that this much turf that you have with you, isn't it enough for today, and for the evening that you want more turf from the loft? Kathleen said, there's a cake baking at the fire for a short space, throwing down the turf, and Bartley will want it when the tide turns if he goes to Connemara. So Kathleen says that she was baking a cake. So she said that there was a cake which was in the baking, and since she wanted the cake to bake fast, since they had a short time, they had a short space to bake the cake, that is why she was taking more turf from the loft. She further told her mother that the reason why she wants the cake to be baked fast was because Bartley might want that. She said that if Bartley wants to go to the Galway fair in Connemara, he might want the cake, and that is why I want the cake to be baked fast. Nora picks up the turf and puts it round the pot oven. So, the turf that was thrown down by Kathleen, Nora picked it up and she wrapped it around the pot oven to keep it warm. Moria, sitting down on a stool at the fire, she said, "He won't go this day, with the wind rising from the south and west. He won't go this day, for the young priest will stop him surely." So Moria, she sat down by the fire and she said that he is not going to go anywhere today because the wind is rising from the south and the west. So as I had told you in my previous lecture also, and this is something that we all are aware of, the tidal movements in the sea are all because of the wind. So, the violent the wind, the higher would be the tidal waves, and if the wind is very calm and it is very quiet, then the sea is also going to be equally calm and quiet. So, Moria said that today the wind is rising from the south and the west side, so it is not safe for him to go to the sea today. Besides, he said that I know the young priest is definitely going to stop him from going. I know that the young priest would not let him go. Nora said, "He will not stop him, mother." And I heard Eamon Simon and Stephen Feety and Colum Sean saying he would go. So Nora also told her mother that the priest is not going to stop him, mother. Besides, she made a mention of 3 more people, Eamon Simon, Stephen Feety and Colum Sean. So she said that I've heard from these 3 also that confirming that Bartley was going to Connemara for that fair. Moria asks, where is he itself? That where is Bartley right now? We are talking about Bartley, but where is he? Nora says, he went down to see would there be another boat sailing in the week, and I am thinking it won't be long till he is here now, for the tide's turning at the Greenhead and the hookers stacking from the east. So she said that Bartley has gone down to the sea, so he's gone near to the sea in order to see, in order to find out all the boats that are going to sail to the Galway fair in this week. Nora also says that I think he should be back home any moment now, because the tide's turning at the Greenhead and the hookers stacking from the east. Hooker is basically a kind of a boat. So she said that the tide also was growing violent, the tide also was getting very fast, and also this boat, the hooker's boat, could also be seen coming from the east. So I think he should be home any moment. Kathleen says, I hear someone passing the big stones. So Kathleen also confirmed that she could hear somebody's sound. She could hear somebody approaching, coming nearer to their home. Nora looks out and says, he's coming now and he is in a hurry. So Nora also looked out and she said that he is coming and he is in a hurry. Bartley comes in and looks round the room, speaking sadly and quietly. Where is the bit of new rope Kathleen was bought in Connemara? So he says, Bartley, he came in and he looked around the room. He got very sad. He was, very quiet, and he asked, where is the bit of new rope Kathleen was bought in Connemara? So he asked Kathleen that where was the new rope that he had bought from Connemara. Kathleen, she comes down from the ladder and she gives it. She told Nora, give it to him, Nora. It is on a nail by the white boards. I hung it up this morning, for the pig with the black feet was eating it. So Kathleen came off the ladder and she told Nora to give the new rope to Bartley. She told Bartley that the new rope was by the white boards. Now there is a reference of these white boards also. What is it? We'll talk about it in some time. So there was a nail which was there on the white board, and by that white board the rope was hung. So she says that I hung it up this morning because the pig which with the black feet was eating this rope up. So in order to prevent this rope, I put this rope on the nail. Nora giving him a rope. Is that it, Bartley? So Nora handed over that rope to her brother and asked, is that it? Is it all that you want, Bartley? Moira says, you do right to leave that rope, Bartley. Hanging by the boards. Bartley takes the rope. It will be wanting in this place, I am telling you. If Michael's washed up tomorrow morning, or the next morning, or any other morning in the week, for it's a deep grave, we'll make him by the grace of God. So Moira says that you would do right to leave that rope, Bartley. So she told Bartley to leave that rope right away. She did not want her son to take away that rope with him. And she also says that it will be wanting in this place, that we want this rope with ourselves. I am telling you, if Michael is washed up tomorrow morning or the next morning or any morning in the week, for it's a deep grave. So she said that, I would want this rope in this place because there are chances for your brother Michael to be washed up to the shore maybe tomorrow or the day after or within a week. And I would need this rope because for its deep grave. She says that I want to make for him a very deep grave by the grace, by the blessings of God. And so we would be needing this rope, to get the coffin inside that grave. They would be needing that rope. Bartley was beginning to work with rope. He says, I have no halter the way I can ride down on the mare, and I must go now quickly. This is the one boat going for 2 weeks or beyond it, and the fare will be a good fare for horses, I heard them saying below. So Bartley had already started doing whatever he wanted with that rope. He says that I have no halter. Now, what is a halter? It is kind of a strap which is put onto the horse. We all know we need a strap to be put onto the horses. So, since he was going to the horse fair and he was taking a couple of them with himself, so he wanted a halter to tie them. So, he says that I want this rope to use it as the halter, and I must go very, very quickly. He said that there is only one boat which is going for 2 weeks or beyond it. So this boat is going to be away for 2 weeks or even more than 2 weeks. And I have heard people saying that this fare is going to be very good, that the fare is going to be a wonderful fare, and I am sure it will be helpful for us. Moria says, it is a hard thing. They'll be saying below, if the body is washed up and there's no man in it to make the coffin. And I, after giving a big price for the finest white boards you find in Conmera. So Moria says that, it is a hard thing. It is a very, very difficult, a very, very sad thing that there is no man in it to come make the coffin. She said that if you are not here and if we get Michael's body, then it is going to be very difficult for me and for your sisters to make that grave and to bury him in that grave without the help of a man. And I, after giving a big price for the finest white boards you'd find in Connemara. So you see, I told you, the white boards by which this rope was hung was basically bought by Moria from Connemara. She had bought these beautiful white boards because she wanted to make a very beautiful, a very wonderful coffin for her son Michael. So that is why these white boards were bought by her. She looks around at the board. So she looked at the board. You can say that she was in a fix, you can say. She was waiting for the body of her son to be washed away on the shore. But being a mother, the kind of pain that she was going through at that time is something that none of us can obviously understand. So Bartley further continued. He said, how would it be washed up and we, after looking each day for 9 days and a strong wind blowing a while back from the west and the south? So Bartley asked his mother that how is it that Michael is going to be washed away to the shore just now? We have been waiting for quite some time now. We have been looking each day for 9 days. So for the past 9 days, we have been waiting. We have been looking for him, and that too when the wind was so strong from the west and south that it was expected that the wind is going to bring him to the shore. So when that did not happen, how do we expect that to be done now, when obviously it is not even that windy and when we waited for 9 days already? Moria says, if it was not found itself that wind is raising the sea, and there was a star up against the moon and it rising in the night, if it was 100 horses or 1,000 horses you had itself, what is the price of 1,000 horses against a sun where there is one sun only? So Moria says that if it was not found itself, if the body did not come to us on its own, that the wind is raising the sea and there was a star up against the moon and it is rising in the night. So she says that, we all can see that the wind was raising the sea, we all can see the star by the moon, and we all can see the rising movement of the water. So that obviously the body was not found on its own. It did not just come to the shore on its own. If it was 100 horses or 1,000 horses you had itself, what is the price of 1,000 horses against the sun when there is only one sun left? So she was convincing Bartley not to go to that fair. She said that even if you have 100 or 1,000 horses with yourself that you're supposed to trade away at that fair, just tell me one thing, how are those 1,000 horses going to equal the only son living? So she was just trying to convince him not to go. She was just trying to tell him that even if you are going to get a lot of money in return of this fair, you are the only son, the only living son that I have, and I would not want to risk your life for anything, even if we are talking about 1,000 horses right now. Bartley, who was working at the halter, he said to Kathleen, let you go down each day and see the sheep are not jumping in on the rye. And if the jobber comes, you can sell the pig with the black feet if there is a good price going. So while Bartley was working at the halter that he had to make, he was giving instructions to Kathleen. He told Kathleen that every day you have to go and you have to see that the sheep that we have, they are not jumping in on the rye. Rye refers to the cereal. You know, not that cereal that we watch on the television, but something that is eaten. So, this is a cereal plant basically that they had grown. So, Bartley simply told Kathleen to be very cautious to go and to make sure that their sheep were not jumping on the cereal plant. And if the jobber comes, jobber is the wholesaler, you know, the one who was into the trade of selling and buying. So he said that if the jobber comes, you can sell the pig with the black feet and if there is any good price going. So he told Kathleen that if that jobber comes and he is in for a purchase of something, then you can sell the pig that has the black feet, and only when the price that he is asking for is a good price. Okay, so when the price he gives is good, please sell the pig with the black feet. Maurya says, how would the like of her get a good price for a pig? So she asked that how can we get a good price for a pig, that too a pig which looks like the the pig that we have, the pig with the black feet, the pig which is so notorious. So how do we expect us to get a good price for that? Bartley again says to Kathleen, if the west wind holds with the last bit of the moon, let you and Nora get up and weed enough for another cock for the kelp. Its hard set will be from this day with no one in it but one man to work. Okay, so what did he further instruct to Kathleen? He said that if the west wind holds with the last bit of the moon, so because of the wind, if there is any amount of moonlight that you are able to get, then you and Nora should get up, weed enough for another cock for the kelp. So kelp is basically a large brown seaweed. So this was a weed that was found by the sea. So obviously, to gather this weed was not possible when the wind and when the tidal movement was so high. So basically, they had to wait for the wind to subside and the sea to become quiet and to become calm, and only then it could be expected that they could collect the seaweed. So he said that if that happens, if there is some moonlight, it is not completely dark, and when the sea is also a bit quiet, then you may collect the brown seaweed. It is hard set will be from this day with no one in it but one man to work. He also says that it is very difficult and it is very much unfair on me, on my part, because from now onwards there is going to be only one man in the house and he will have to do all the work. So he found that to be very unfair. Maurya says, it's hard set will be surely the day you're drowned with the rest. What way will I live and the girls with me, and I, an old woman looking for the grave? Maurya also says that it is a hard set will be surely the day you are drowned with the rest. So he says, Maurya said to his, to her son, that imagine the most difficult thing is going to be for us. If the only living son that I have is drowned with the rest, with the rest refers to with the other family members who've already lost their lives to sea. So when Bartley had said that it will be very difficult and unfair for one man to do all the work related to the house, it is then that Maurya said that the hardest thing, the most difficult thing is that the only living son is also drowned with the rest of his family. And imagine how I and these girls, Kathleen and Nora, are going to live, and how am I, who's such an old woman, I will keep on finding the graves and looking after the graves all alone. Bartley lays down the halter, takes off his old coat and puts on a newer one with the same flannel. So Bartley, whatever halter he had made with the rope, he put that down. He took off his old coat and he put on a new coat with the same flannel. Flannel is that material with which the woolen things are made. So he took off his old coat and he put on a new one with the same material. Bartley says to Nora, is she coming to the pier? So who is she? Their mother. So Bartley asked Nora if their mother was going to come to the pier. Now pier, what is the pier? Pier is basically, in the olden times, and even now there are a few places where there is not a proper port, where the seas are, they are seen off and people come to the port to bid them goodbye. So that proper port is missing. In the earlier times, what used to be there were on two poles, there was a wooden plank which was laid, and the people could see off their relatives or their friends who were going on a boat or on a ship journey. So who were going for a sail, they were seen off from the pier. So Bartley asked Nora if their mother was going to come to that place. Nora said she's passing the Green Head and letting fall her sails. So she's passing the Green Head and letting fall her sails means that she is obviously so confused in her head. She was so worried, she was so shattered, she was so disappointed and angry that obviously it will take some time for her to control herself, to gain a confidence over herself. Bartley, getting his purse and tobacco. I will have half an hour to go down and you will see me coming again in 2 days or in 3 days or maybe in 4 days if the wind is bad. So Bartley picked up his wallet, he took his tobacco and he told everyone around him that I will be leaving in half an hour. And then I will come back after 2 days or 3 days or even 4 days if the wind is bad. So till the time the wind is okay, till the time the wind is comfortable, we'd come back, and if it is getting bad, then our stay is only going to be delayed. Kathleen says, it is the life of a young woman, of a young man to be going out on the sea. And who would listen to an old woman with one thing and saying it forever? So Kathleen then says that, this is how the life of a young man is. The young man has to go on to the sea. But who would listen to an old woman with one thing and she's saying it over? So she was just commenting on the fact that their mother had got so old and she was so worried with the happenings in her house that, she actually would continue to speak one thing again and again. So that is why Kathleen said that, it will be even more difficult for a woman who continues to say one thing again and again. And what was that one thing? About the sea being unlucky. Bartley took the halter and he said that I must go now quickly. I will ride down on the red mare and the grey pony will run behind me. So Bartley, he took that halter and he said that I have to go quickly. I will ride on the red mare. Okay, the red horse, the feminine gender of a horse is mare. So he said, I'm going to down on the red mare and the grey pony that I have is going to run behind me. The blessing of God on you. Just look at the irony of this statement. When a child goes out, it is the parents who bless the child. But here it was just the other way round. It was the child, it was Bartley who blessed and who said to his family and to his mother that I wish God blesses you. And with this, he leaves the room. So my dear students, I am going to pause here now. So we are going to now continue with the next part of this chapter in my next video. So I will see you all now in my next lecture.